Welcome everybody to the Town of Richmond Water and Sewer Commission meeting for October the 2nd, 2023. Do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? All right, good. Moving on, approval of minutes, warrants, and purchase orders. Let's start with the minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the draft minutes for September 18th, 2023?
Morgan, that was David, so moved.
Have a second?
I second.
Okay.
Aaron.
Okay. Discussion. No, I have a few. I'm learning how to nitpick.
June would be proud.
Yeah, great. On line 76. Says this commission has actually, and then there's nothing after that. I'm not sure if we're missing something or I'm misreading it.
I caught one of those too, but I don't remember where it was now. It's like a
So I guess just
Cut off, but-
check on line 76 what that, maybe it's a word missing or, you know. And line 100, it says operating the press is a one-person job, modifying and changing things to make sure it's running all the time. I think that means that it's a full-time job for one person at the present. Maybe.
Sure we can check.
Yeah, I just put in, I think it means full-time job, implying that Steve is spending most of his day trying to operate the press there.
All right.
See on line 109, we have 2 people operating 3 or 4 persons plant. So thank you very much. I think, yeah, we have 2 people operating a plant that was designed for 3 plus people. That's pretty minor. That's nitpicking. So, sorry. Line 125.
You said a few.
I'm sorry. I did, didn't I?
Is it four?
Okay, that's right. Well, few is a subjective word too, and then more than 2, right? 125, there's no backup, there's no breaks. Been working with there's no backups, there's no breaks. I think it just meant that that the sewer is not backing up. Pretty minor again. And then on line 180, it says, we also know that the town's authority on privately owned flooding rarely exists. I think that means that the town does not have authority over or jurisdiction over mitigating flooding on privately owned land. And then 181, where it says a different department, I think it just means is literally the state of Vermont's jurisdiction.
What was that last night?
That was on 181. Yeah, I think that just, you'll see it says a different department. I think it just means that it is literally the state of Vermont's jurisdiction.
Okay.
And then on 199, I'm going to let the misspelling of my name go because that doesn't really matter. But
What was that on 199?
yeah, actually several times.
Oh, we can clean that
I've been
up.
called Wolverine on a number of
We
Wolverine.
can check
Yeah.
in general on the spelling of the.
Yeah, it's fine. But anyway, on that it says chlorine was only 1 day. So I think chlorine was low on 1 day. All right, I'll let it.
And if you want, I don't know if it's easier, but if you are reading those ahead of time, if you just put that into an email to me and Duncan, we can just change them prior to the meeting.
Yeah, all right, I'll do that.
Whatever's easier for you though.
That would have been really easy. I could have gone. I have 10 corrections. I have emailed it to you, and then we could.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you guys wanted to, I could email you a Word version too. So if you wanted to just like I don't know, whatever's gonna be an easier system for you, but if you're like, oh, I'd rather have a Word version, just type it in there, we can make that happen.
I'll just highlight it.
Okay.
All right, so motion to accept the draft with amendments. All right, call for a vote. All in favor?
I,
Second.
Oh, oh,
I second
I'm sorry.
the amendment
And
to the
amended
minutes.
draft, okay. Call for a vote, aye.
Aaron, I,
David, I.
Morgan, aye. The motion passed. Moving right along to go away document. Oops.
Morgan, this is David. I move to approve purchase order 4759 in the amount of $10,680 for pumping to repair the grid screen.
this is Aaron, and I second that emotion.
Okay,
Or
Any-
motion.
yes. Any discussion? No discussion, calling for a vote on approving purchase order number 4759. All in favor?
Aaron, I,
David, I.
Morgan, aye. Purchase order number 4759 passes.
Morgan, this is David. I move to approve.
Warrants,
Yes.
we have 3 warrants. One for 5,015, another
One
for,
for 25,317.52
right?
and one for 29,256.29.
Electronic transfer warrant report,
Oh, I see.
right? Do I have a second?
this is Aaron, I second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? No discussion, therefore calling for a vote. All in favor of motion to accept the warrants as presented?
Aaron, I,
David, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passes. You want to pass those around, we'll
I
sign.
don't know, sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up, consideration of approval of preliminary water and sewer allocation for 112 East Main Street. Josh, would you like to discuss
Sure.
this?
So this is a request to increase the allocation of 112 East Main Street. They're building a duplex. They're requesting 210 gallons per day of sewer use and 360 gallons per day for water use. I checked with superintendent and he said we have plenty of capacity for both. I'll turn it over to Jeff Oleski if he has any more to add from the engineering company.
Yeah, again, just for the record, my name is Jeff Oleski with Catamount Consulting. Yeah, really the only clarification is there is an existing duplex on property. In the duplex, each unit has 2 bedrooms. That was permitted through allocation. That this
Jeff, you're breaking up quite.
family.
maybe- Jeff, you're breaking up. Why don't you try turning off your video? Your audio is really coming through sketchy.
Try turning
Okay,
off your
I'm gonna
video.
get rid of my. Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the video and hope that helps. Is that any better?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that there is an existing duplex on a property that was permitted and an allocation of project. Those 2 units has 2 bedrooms currently. Application is a separate alone single family structure to be constructed on the rear of the lot for a 3-bedroom single family house. And the water and sewer services for the new single family house will be tied into the existing municipal water and sewer services that serve the duplex. That was my only clarification.
Okay. Do we have plenty of water and sewer to allocate to that?
Yep.
Sounds good. Do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, you need a motion to approve the preliminary allocation, and there's a draft motion David's got right there.
Okay,
Morgan, this is David. I move to approve the preliminary water and sewer allocations for 112 East Main Street for 210 gallons per day of sewer use and 360 gallons per day of water use.
do I have a second?
I will second David's motion.
Okay, discussion? Anybody? No discussion, so calling for a vote to on the motion to approve the allocation of water and sewer to 112 East Main Street. All in favor, say aye.
This is Aaron, I.
This is David, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passes. Thank you,
Okay,
Jeff.
thank you everyone for your time. Yep, thank you.
Okay. Review of list of water and wastewater items to be repaired or replaced. So I understand that Steve is not able to join us today. Don't know if we want to.
I can give an update. Yeah, he's unable to join us this evening. But as was the update last week, he spent the last 2 weeks really working a lot on the press, the dewatering press. So he hasn't made a lot of headway on the other part of the to-do list. Also, he's only got one staff member at this point. So he had been a bit challenged. So I'll review the press in a minute. In addition to that, we do have one backwash pump. We were waiting for arrival. That's arrived, and they should have had that installed by today. So that's progress on that one piece. And now we're going to take 2 older pumps, go out to Phil Laramie. He's going to kind of combine them together into one pump that we'll have as a backup. So we will have a backup for those pumps in the future.
And what pumps are those? That's the septic.
Those are the backwash pumps that are at the
Backwash,
very
okay.
end of the system.
Well,
So
okay.
after it goes through those filters,
Oh, okay.
it's very, very end. I'm not exactly sure where they are in relation to the filters, but it's the
Right.
final stage.
Final stage of pumping. Okay. Okay.
So now we've got, 2 operational pumps in there, which is great.
Nice.
For a while, we only had one.
Oh.
So this is good. But yeah, the dewatering press, it's a delicate balance. There's a lot of different things that need to be adjusted. There's, different types of septic that you get. There's the wasting that can change a little bit. So they have to balance things very precisely, and it's fairly easy for it to go out of whack. Which since Labor Day, prior to Labor Day was running really good. Since Labor Day, he hasn't been able to get the mixture just right. What you want to see is like clear liquid coming out of that, and the solids going up the conveyor into the bin to be pulled away. So they've been fighting with that, where they'll make a small adjustment. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. They'll do something else to try to figure it out. Steve's been really reaching out to a lot of experts in the field. He's been calling other operators. He's been calling the press company themselves. And last week he had a representative from Fournier, which is the press company. I think it was on Thursday. They came out. They spent pretty much the whole day there looking at things, trying to make adjustments and see. They were able to get it to a point where it's running pretty clean right now, which is great. But the problem is that the volume that's going through there isn't really what he needs to kind of keep up with the plant. So they're having to run it a lot more. But the bacteria was getting older in the side that we waste, and that was causing some concern that it was going to cause some troubles backwards in the plant, as like that bacteria wasn't going to be healthy for the rest of the plant. As of today, he said he got through that. That bacteria is now, or the waste in there is now newer. So there's been some good progress. The person who was here on Thursday is going to have a report for us, hopefully this week, to talk about, well, what steps you need to do going forward to repair the pump. And at that point, we're going to just, the press. I misspoke. To repair the press. And then I think we're going to have to probably talk with our engineers as well to see, well, where a long-term plan be, because the 20-year study should be done sort of by the end of this year. So, because it could be significant cost. We'll have to see, is it worth putting more money into this press, or do we have to just go find a new press? And if there's a new press, what type do we get? Is this one work or not? So it's a bit unfortunate we're being hit with this, kind of failure of the press at this time. It'd be nice to have a little more time to make a decision, but we'll get more information soon. And right now, I think it's running as well as he can make it run.
Right. And you would imagine that presses are not sitting on the shelves to buy either, are they? So
I would imagine not. They're pretty large pieces of equipment and very expensive.
they'd have to order it and then it would be built, most likely.
Yeah. And I'm hopeful that in this report, he can come back and say, hey, here's some things you might be able to do. Like maybe there's some smaller things we can do to kind of extend the life of it. Because it's been, we've had it working. But I think that over the years, Steve had said the guy looks at things shouldn't be set that way. He's like, we've always had it on that setting. But it's been, repaired and modified over the 20 years. And so we've got sort of a little bit of a modified press.
comments or no? If we may have to pump or not take stuff.
Oh, right. So if it gets to the point where we're not able, like if the press, if you can't get the balance back and it goes back to running dirty and not removing the solids, then it's just putting more solids back into the plant. So there, or if we can't keep up with the volume, there's a possibility we'll have to pump some of the solids out and then truck them away. And then that would be an additional cost.
Hmm.
So obviously we don't want to do that as much as we don't have to do that. But that would be sort of the ultimate solution if we can't figure the rest out.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything's good with water.
Oh, yeah, I think there's no major pieces being broken down right now. We are waiting on word of when the mixer is gonna arrive. We're waiting on a ship date to get that here. We're working on signing an agreement with the installation company so that when it gets here, they can install it, inspect the tank, do the video, and do the cleaning as well. So, it's still taking a bit of time, but we'll work on that.
Make sure the water's plenty cold for the diver when it happens.
Sure, it's always cold, but yeah, November.
Yeah,
could be
that's
even
right.
more chilly.
Probably never gets above 50 degrees. I bet.
It's probably, yeah, but I'm sure they've got all sorts of equipment.
Right, yes, it's,
Seinfeld episode.
yeah.
Oh, I know the one now.
I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
Let's see.
I was not allowed to stay up that late.
Excuse me. See, review of letter requesting an extension of the timeline for the Northern Borders Regional Commission grant.
Yeah, so this is related, this is the grant of $150,000 that we talked about when we talked about the expansion to the reefs. And it would pay for the expansion of the sewer line out to the reefs property. Pay at the time, it was about half the cost. Now that cost has gone up quite a bit. But our timelines continue to get pushed out, as we all know. We continue to talk about the project. So we were initially supposed to have a notice to proceed, which essentially means that we've got engineering in place, permit, final design. We're ready to go to construction. That was initially slated to be the end of last September. So we had to submit a letter explaining the delays that we ran into at that point and ask for an extension. And now that extension has run up. So they need another letter from the commission to talk about what delays have we run into now. So I drafted a letter, talk about, after we expanded the district, we then saw that, the cost of each individual user was a little bit exorbitant. So we sort of tabled it. And then we looked at an alternate route, which might be a little bit less expensive, but still serve the main goal of getting the sewer line down to the REIT property. But there's easement issues with land trust, with the school, and it takes time to work through those. So I tried to outline those in the letter. So really bringing it to the commission just to see if there's any additional feedback the commission might have to add to the letter. And then looking to get that letter finalized and in this week to NBRC so that they can review it. And we've been in touch with other officials there, like as we talked about changing the route, like we talked to them about that maybe 6 or 7 months ago. So they know that, they know we're working on it, but they need something formal from us.
Sure, okay. I don't have any comments about the letter. Okay,
Great, we'll put that in tomorrow. Thank you.
great. Update on Gateway Sewer Expansion. So our expert commissioner, select board person is not here tonight.
Well, I can
But-
maybe give a review of sort of where we ended up. So we did have a meeting last week. You were there? No. You're trying to, yes,
Oh,
you were for that
yeah.
part. Yeah, so you were in
For
the
the
meeting.
Zoom,
So if you wanted to do the recap, or I got it written down either way.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I forgot who was there.
Okay.
actually. So we wanted to talk with our attorney to find out, like, well, what could we do to kind of extend the line and still have the easement so that it could be a town-owned line. Because we want to make sure that in order to use the grant, it has to be a town-owned line, town project. So the attorney kind of looked at a couple of different ways. He said, the town does not necessarily need to be included. Oh, wait. Okay. The reefs should convey the easement to the town for the purpose of owning and servicing the public line. So essentially it sort of gets built as a public-private project, and then they convey their portion of the easement so the town can go in and maintain the line. The town could also purchase a small portion of the REIT property, which would obtain rights of the easement would be coming in assigned in the REIT property. And the easement is for the REITs and their, successors and assigns. So if they subdivide or sell to somebody, they also have rights to that easement. So that's another way that we could, make sure we have rights to the easement. Our attorney also noted, as we talked a little bit more about the school easement, that in order for the school to have an easement to the town, they might actually need to hold a public vote so that all the people in the school district can vote on essentially sort of transfer property rights, which was a new thing that we talked about the school easement a bit and hadn't had that come up. But he said, yeah, if he was advising a school, that's what he would advise them, and they have in the past. So that might be something that will just, take some more time to figure out. But we should probably start that conversation with the school, because if they, as our attorney brought up, a logical time to do that would be at their annual meeting in March. And they would need to really have that bond or have that paperwork probably by the end of January finalized, if they're going to try to do that. And then we would also, and we've known this, need to amend the grant to amend the route, because right now the grant talks about a route along Route 2. As I mentioned in the last agenda item, we've been talking with the folks at the grant, so they seem open to changing the route because it still accomplishes the same goal of economic development. But we would need a formal amendment to the grant to do that. So we were trying to kind of outline a few things that we know we need to work through here. So I think we'll likely need a few more follow-up meetings to keep this moving. And then with the sewer line at the school, there was a concern, I'm not sure if it came from the Reeves or the school, but that maybe the pressure test failed because they didn't seal off the pipe that goes from the main line. The main line goes basically from Jericho Road down School Street to Camel's Hump Middle School. There's a branch that goes off the elementary school.
Right.
So there was a concern of, oh, well, what if they didn't factor that in when they did the pressure test? Well, then obviously pressure would just escape down there and they wouldn't get any pressure. So I followed up with Tyler Billingsley and with Steve Cody. So Tyler was there on behalf of the town, essentially to make sure that, okay, if they said the pressure is 50, I see the gauge, it's getting reported correctly. He was sort of a second set of eyes. So he made clear, he's like, look, I wasn't running the test. I wasn't in charge of it, but I do remember walking down there with Steve to turn that valve to open it back up. And the guy that was running the test is one of the best in Vermont for doing pressure tests. So he's like, you should reach out to him to make sure, but I imagine he took care of all these precautions. So Bard, at the end of last week, was trying to get in touch with Mac, I think his name is Mac, just to double check on if the test was run right. But hearing from both Steve and Tyler, I'm pretty sure that was closed. Tyler did mention that that valve is probably 30 years old, so maybe it doesn't seal airtight. So maybe that was a problem, but that's more on the school to kind of figure out, is our valve working or not?
Yeah. So I know, I understand that Bard did talk with Mike
good.
McDonald, and there were a couple of things that came up. I guess there wasn't a lot of time to be able to get the test done, but it was strictly, there was very little water in the line, so they did an air pressure, so it takes a long time for that to really get up to speed or get up to pressure. And probably a better way of doing that is to fill it with water. Therefore, you have very little, I mean, it's much shorter and it's a better test. And also that the valve sounds like it's a really small, actually he calls it a pressure gauge. It's very small for a sewer line and could easily get clogged up. So something could be cleaned out, or somebody could do ahead of time. Let's see, longer to test, but clearing the gauge and then filling it with liquid or water, and do that would be a better test. And so I think the question truly on a second test is, who would pay for that? You know, is it if the town's going to run it to down to, take ownership onto Willis Farm, with the potential of some point of it going on down Route 2, then is it to the town's benefit to pay that, or is this really, if we're going to take over the school's sewer line there, Camel Sump, would it actually, would that actually the benefit be to the school to go ahead and pay for that second test? And because if it does pass, we're taking the line over, then that takes a lot of liability off of them in the future.
Is there any precedence for who pays for what when going down this road?
I don't know that there is. I think it was at the point, I believe, I don't know if it was at the Reefs and the school split the cost or the Reefs paid for the last one.
I think the Reach paid
Paid
for
for
it because it was their interest to get it
Right.
down there.
So they agreed.
Yeah, I don't know as far as precedent. I think you can make the argument. Well, you can make an argument for the Reefs.
Mm.
You can make an argument for the school, because like you said, if they want to turn it over, then they pay for it to prove it.
Yeah.
I think the only argument for the town paying for it is, we're $40,000+ and a lot of time in on this project already, so. If there's $600 more to do a pressure test to see if this project can actually move forward. Maybe there's a justification there, but
Right.
every dollar is a dollar too. I mean,
Right.
just because we're already pot committed doesn't mean we have to put more money in the pot.
Right.
And a pressure test is about $600, is that?
Was it $600 or $800? I think?
Yeah, somewhere in that
Yeah.
$500 to $800 range, right?
I didn't know what it cost, so that was my first question was gonna be, is this
Yeah.
a
Right.
66?
Yeah.
Like what?
Then I guess you have all the representatives that are there to confirm did it pass or fail. Right. That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, 'cause we paid for some of, Tyler's time and Steve to be there, so we did pay a little bit, but we didn't pay just to supervise it.
So it sounds like that talking with Mike McDonald, that there are a number of things that should be done ahead of time. So this time around, it's all confirmed, and
Mhm.
if in fact the gauge gets clogged up, being on a sewer line, you would think there's a lot of solids in that. It could have gunked up the gauge as well. So there we are with that, and like Josh said, we're after talking with the town attorney, I guess we've got sort of a number of things that need to be put in place to figure out the REITs want to move forward, where's the land trust, and how does the town water and sewer and then the select board want to move forward with being participants in this easement, whether it's through assignment, being an assignee, of buying a square foot of their land to be an assignee, or to transfer. Well, I guess we'd have to renegotiate a new easement if we ended up with the easement, because they cannot just transfer the easement to us. Right. Questions, anybody? All right. So that's the update on that. Contracting for water meters.
But at long last, I've got a meeting tomorrow with our attorney who marked up the agreements, and with the Zetter representative, and I believe the president or vice president. So I'm hoping that an hour in a Zoom can help us figure out where differences are and get a contract that we all agree on. So hopefully next update is we're getting water meters.
Right.
I know we just got to work on an RFP to get them installed.
Right.
So there's still a bit of work ahead, but
Are we close? Are we kind of close? Are we kind of far off?
I mean, hopefully we're fairly close. I mean, our attorney, he's seen some of these before where he's seen towns get a couple of years in and really have some problems. So he's just trying to make sure that we're all set and ready to go. And I think there maybe wasn't a sales agreement, so our attorney for a sales agreement saying, okay, let's make sure we're 100%. We know what we're buying, what condition we're buying them in, and if they're not in the right condition, where are we versus?
There are always a lot of billable hours when you get two lawyers in a room and ask them to agree.
Yeah. So it's I'm hoping that we can get to a point tomorrow where we're good.
Yeah.
I think that was it.
The famous statement would, depends on what the definition of is.
That's not good.
Great. Well, there we go. It's moving forward.
Trying
there.
to, yeah.
And then the,
I guess I do have a question.
okay,
The attorney. I assume like with the water. What's it, not the seep, is it called the weeping? On the tank,
on the
and I
tank,
know like,
yeah.
I think it was Kara that mentioned. When we were talking about that, like, what are our rights to go back to the
Yeah,
company that did it or whatever, is that kind of the sort of stuff that the attorney is sussing out in this so that we don't have those? Or we have a fallback plan if there was an
I see what
issue?
you're saying. Yeah, I think yeah, essentially, like, when I went to him with it, he's like, well, I've seen in other towns where these have started to fail and the company hasn't stood behind them, so I want to make sure that you're not in the same boat.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Yes,
protecting us in that similar respect.
that's what that's coming from, the seepage coming out of the.
No, sorry, that's using that as an
I just use
analogy.
that as an example.
All right.
No, yeah, that's where I thought she was going to. I was like, no, different projects, but yeah, it's different project. And really, anytime I go to Bob with the contract, he's extremely thorough,
That's good.
which
Yeah.
is good, but also
Painful, yeah.
takes
Is
some
he the one
time.
that reviewed the contract of, that has the weeping?
No, that was before this.
That
Okay.
was maybe before, I don't know, that was before my time. I don't know who.
Gavin Hour, I can give you that story.
Okay,
Oh.
was that back to the
Maybe in
previous
3
law
to 6
firm?
months.
Yeah. So, okay,
Next meeting, we'll all arrive at
Story
5
time.
o'clock,
Okay.
yeah, for story time. Good. And then the $100,000 question, update on staffing.
so Steve and I, we've actually got about 20 or so applicants, and they're of varying quality. So Steve and I sat down today to really review. We sort of narrowed it down to a number that we think could actually do it. We sort of picked our top 5, but we're looking to schedule some interviews later this week. We've got at least one person that has some certifications that might be interested. We've got a couple other people that have, been civil engineers or really involved in the wastewater business, but don't really have the licensing. But we look at them as people that could probably really easily transfer in. And then some others that have a little bit more of a mechanical background. Yeah. And then if we don't get on those, there's a few that are people that are sort of just out of technical school that might be a good fit. So I think we've got a pretty good pool of people to start to work through.
Hmm. Yeah, that's, I didn't think about that. Should we be shopping around at the automotive places to find a good mechanic that would like to?
Well, we do have some people like that have, worked in machine shops or done mechanics in other fields. Or, worked in like the gas industry. So sort of similar transferable skills, or like engineers who maybe design some things. So, some of our questions are, well, you're a civil engineer, why do you want to come work? Like, how is this going to fit? But that's why you do the interviews. So I think, we're hoping to get a few of them scheduled this week. Because the sooner we can hire some people, the better off we're gonna be.
Yeah.
And if you had, we have the ability to offer 2 positions if you
Yep.
had 2 good candidates. right?
Yeah, it's currently budgeted for 4 people.
Right.
So yeah, we can offer 2 positions. And then I think we sort of see how, like Steve wants to sort of see how that goes with 4. We've talked about, I think he probably needs a 5th person, but to his credit, I think he wants to see, okay, can I do it with 4?
Right.
He can do it with 2. So.
Well, and going from managing 1 person who
managing 3.
knows his job quite well to 3 will be
Yeah.
a leap in itself. So
Yeah, and that's why we're starting to take a look
Increments.
at some of the more experienced people first, thinking if we can at least get one of them.
mhm.
Then if we find a person who maybe just got a technical college that is a little bit more green, but then Steve can kind of balance his management skills a little bit, I think.
Yep.
Hopefully we find somebody good here. I'm encouraged. I'm happy we have so many applicants. It's nice.
Yeah, that was good news. I was glad to see the double-digit number of applicants. That
Yeah.
Yeah.
was nice.
Yeah, it's sort of a different challenge when you go from not really having to manage Brad because he's been here so long. All of a sudden you have 2 people and,
Oh, yeah.
his job changes pretty quick there. Yeah, so hopefully, well, that's good news. We know that, don't want Steve to lose steam from too much work or get
Yeah.
sick. It
Absolutely.
would not be a good thing. So it'd be great to be able to bring on new staffing as soon as possible.
That's the allocation. Just you.
Okay.
We're all wrapping up
Okay,
here,
yep.
so.
Okay, that's it. What's up for next meeting in 2 weeks?
Water meters.
Water meters, gateway,
Staffing,
staffing,
maybe we'll have some good news.
Press.
us.
I wanna see how fast Josh can write it.
It's a lot of the same stuff.
What do we have?
We'll have monthly water numbers for September.
Okay, okay.
September, yeah, sorry.
Kara, anything to add to the list or? No,
All right.
good. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
This is David, so moved.
Oh, before you go,
Karen, I
could I ask a
second.
quick question?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, too late.
As what, in the topic of about the northern border, is it northern border BORDER or BOARDER?
I'm sorry, that's a typo. It's BORDER, like a border between countries.
Okay, thank you.
Have somebody living on the. border.
That's the next meeting.
What, closing the border?
The Northern Snow Border Regional Crossing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my ski industry history coming out.
Vote on our motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Karen, I.
David,
Morgan, aye.
got it. Either one of us decided to vote no.
Oh, well,
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
I think that was the shortest meeting we've
So
ever.
where do I?